Hey there. Although I am involved with CADAC, the Center of ADHD Awareness Canada, the views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of the participants and do not reflect those of CADAC. And now, cue the music.
This is the Impulsive Thinker Podcast, a show for high-achieving ADHD entrepreneurs. Together, we will inform and educate you about how to improve your self-awareness while developing systems, routines, and habits for conquering the entrepreneurial world. Here is your host, André Brisson.
Hey there, it's André with another short for the Impulsive Thinker podcast. This episode is brought to you by CADAC, the Center of ADHD Awareness Canada. You can get more information on CADAC at www.caddac.ca. Today I want to talk about overwhelm. Last few weeks, I've been really feeling it, and it's a common thing that happens to entrepreneurs, period. But it really affects the ADHD entrepreneur as it seems like our brain always wants to get ourselves into overwhelm. And by that, I got an engineering company. It's doing well. COVID really affected staff, getting people, projects going right, left, and center, not where it's supposed to go because of the complications that are out there right now. I'm starting tactical breakthroughs, developing the ADHD transformation journey, developing the content, doing the recordings, doing the marketing for the engineering company. Staff coming to me continually for questions and me trying to not work 20 hours a day. Trying to keep it to 8 hours, trying to have my free days or my alone time, like me time on the weekends and not work 7 days a week. And it just seems to make the brain noisy, loud. And a lot of times for me that the frustration is I'm really getting pulled into things I don't want to do because I prefer to do other things. But a lot of this stuff has become because for a while there engineering got boring. So I wanted to develop something new. I wanted to do something new. Oh, an interesting project. Since things were boring, nothing was very intellectually engaging, interesting, challenging, novel, or even urgent. So why not start another company? Let's do that. Why not start a program? Let's make it 4 programs in one. Why don't we just do the recordings? Why don't I just start a podcast? Why don't I just start this? Oh, that's an interesting project going on. And then that gets to the point there's just too much going on. And when there's too much going on, and since we have a problem with time blindness, it's taking me a lot longer than I expected, by 100 times at least. And the fact that since everything can't be visible and comprehending, and I'm doing things, learning things I don't necessarily want to learn or really enjoy doing, adds to the overwhelm. And for me, the overwhelm in the past used to make me very anxious, moody, and pissy. And I'd be short with people. And then I would just keep grinding. I would do 16, 18-hour days, 7 days a week. I would go. That was before my diagnosis. But now that I got this diagnosis, I'm really learning a new me. And I've got to really readjust how I do things. So one thing I really decided to do is I got to just work 10 to 12 hours, no more, 10 average. Weekends are off, no evening work. So I'm really sticking to that, and I'm proud of myself for doing that. Yet the overwhelm is still there because I don't have enough of the day, because I'll go in like this week. This week I started off, I was sick. It wasn't COVID. I just had a bad fever, laid me out on Monday, and that just derailed the whole week. Had to deal with some personnel issues, had to deal with some customer issues, had to deal with some government issues, and I really wanted to get ahead of my program, but it's like, no, I can't. But in the past, I would probably just say no more of the program. Actually, I did that. That's another time for discussion on that depression. But the overwhelm in this case for me, instead of just getting irate and head down, ass up, and just go through it all, it's causing me to freeze and procrastinate a lot. I just don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I know I got to chunk it down. I know I got to break it down. But it's very difficult to understand how to break the old habit. I just go, but still trying to do some self-care. But right now, the overwhelm is just overwhelming. and I don't know where to go. I don't know where to start. So I start on something, or I just procrastinate and do a lot of minor menial stuff that should be done by other people. But it's so easy for us to get into overwhelm. It's so hard to say no to something that's interesting. It's so hard to say no, or it's so hard to not create urgency in order we can get our brain to fire up. And that's why it's very important, if we have the environment around ourselves structured to prevent us from getting those situations, it's very monumental. But also being aware that this is occurring and to figure it out. And I think what you got to do, because I start talking to other people about it, and then I get clarity on what needs to be done in what order, or some things maybe I was just being a little too perfect about it. Overwhelm is very easy for the ADHD brain to get into. A lot of times it's subconscious, it just does it. But how do we get to the point that we can kind of foresee or be aware of what we're doing is getting ourselves into overwhelm? Because what overwhelm does is it's another way of sensing or creating a sense of urgency for our brain to fire up. And having one or two projects, especially if they're long-term, for me, they're boring. So it's very not engaging. It's not challenging. It's not interesting. Even though the outcome, the solution is interesting, but the process of the project, the length of the project is painful. Like for me to work on a project for 3 months, the same thing, wow. And that's painful. I can't. I've always been good at very short-term projects, like especially engineering. Go in, solve the problem. Here's a quick fix. Off you go. Have a nice day. Something a week, 2 weeks is probably the max of something I would do. I enjoy working on an engineering project. So along like building a new building or development, well, that's years, and I just can't sit that long to do that. So I guess a little bit of my observation is when we're in a sense of boredom, I think that's an early trigger that we can get ourselves very quickly in overwhelm with our impulsivity, with our inattention for paying attention that we might be having too much on the go right now. And is this a way for my brain to trick me into doing something to create urgency? And I'm not saying we don't want this stuff for our brain to fire up, but the issue I have right now is just way too much. And I'm really working hard to keep my emotional dysregulation in check. And because I know what I know now, and I know what happened in the past, I would just let that free flow. It didn't matter to me. But now it does. It matters to me. And I don't like being that person. So being in overwhelm, I'm really working hard on emotional dysregulation, which means I got to sacrifice some things. And like this week, I was not happy I did this, but I was very proud of myself that I did do it. The way the week started, I knew it was an engineering week, and I just said, I'm sorry, but tactical breakthroughs will have to be put on hold until things get a little more under control here, and that'll be next week. And I was okay with it. I wasn't happy. I was not happy. I had to put it on the side burner again, but I was proud of myself that I made that decision, and I was okay with it, and finished the week off and got the team back in order, got my engineering manager set up, and take care of some governmental crap that it was just a complete waste of time, but needed to be done. That way I reduced my overwhelm. I reduced my emotional dysregulation, because in the past I would have tried to do it all. I still would have tried to do it all. And then also just getting over massive fevers, not a good idea either. Anyways, I hope this short helps you kind of understand if you get in these kind of overwhelms. Do you get overwhelmed easily? What's the pattern of the overwhelm that you get into? For me, it's just taking on more stuff, to do stuff, because I need to be always moving, always doing something. I can't sit still. That's a bit of my hyperactivity. How about you? How do you get an overwhelm? Is it emotional? Is it work related? Is it hobby related? I think we all experience overwhelm different ways and for different reasons. And I challenge you to try and identify that pattern of how you get into overwhelm and what's the root cause of that overwhelm. If you got any ideas, let me know. Send me an email at questions@theimpulsivethinker.com or through the website. I'd be really interested in understand your overwhelm, because I think this is something that's very key to the ADHD entrepreneur, to be able to manage and prevent, or at least reduce overwhelm. I think we need a certain level of overwhelm, but it's got to be a balanced one. Thanks again for listening, and I hope this was of value to you. And if you did, please share with other people. Please share it with at least 2 or 3 friends. Please leave me a comment and a rating. It'd be greatly appreciated. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Impulsive Thinker podcast. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion for the show, please visit theimpulsivethinker.com. The Impulsive Thinker podcast is produced by Tactical Breakthroughs and hosted by André Brisson. Remember, ADHD is only a part of you, not all of you.